Every time I come on here and start reporting about the 1,800-acre solar farm going into Fort Edward, the town over from mine, somebody will comment and say, well, make sure they do an environmental impact survey. That's where you'll catch them. Now, in a logical world where the government follows its own rules that it sets forth for us, that would make a lot of sense, because an environmental survey in an area like this, a protected grassland habitat, would uncover a lot of concerning information related to the threatened and endangered species that live there. So many threatened and endangered species live at this grassland where the solar farm is going to go, that the state's very own Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State's DEC, has designated this a sensitive and critical grassland habitat for these species. And in fact, this grassland is one of the last of its kind, not only in upstate New York, but in New England as a whole. If this area wasn't such an important and sensitive environment or habitat, it wouldn't have all of these different designations on it. And I will throw up on the screen, just to refresh your guys' memory, the map of where this solar farm is going to go and how they chose the worst possible place from an environmental point of view to set up shop within a solar industrial complex. Logically, an environmental impact survey studies all of that would uncover everything I'm sharing with you guys here, and then surely this corporate project would be put to bed. But it's not. It's being pushed through at lightning speed. It's being aggressively pushed through by ORES, the Office of Renewable Energy Siting, under the direction of the governor, Kathy Hochul, in our state of New York. This is a playbook that so many of you are writing to me, telling me this is happening around not only the country, but the world right now. So I decided to go to the ORES website this week to see if any environmental impact surveys or studies had been ordered or conducted by ORES or the DEC, if they had done any of their due diligence as agencies that oversee the rollout of renewable energy on our farmland here in upstate New York. Right on the ORES website, you can find all the different documents that have been filed by the parties privy to this solar corporation and farm that's going to be rolled out. There's actually over 350 files on that site right now, which I believe makes it purposely very difficult for the average person to comb through them to understand what is actually happening here. Not to mention all of the numbers, findings, and rulings are changing daily, with New York State trying to push through these farms so quickly because the Trump administration actually sunsetted the solar energy credits that they all want. It's being sunsetted by July 4th, 2026. So that's why we're seeing a mad dash to destroy the environment as quickly as possible up here. I scroll down on these files to find a big bunch of them separated between a lot of non-disclosure requirements and agreements. I found a lot of redacted files that happen to contain the very environmental impact surveys I was looking for. I'm going to start throwing them up on the screen right here for you guys to just get a peek at what I saw when I opened up these files. As you can see, I didn't see a lot of anything. I saw a lot of black text box covering the actual sensitive information that I was looking for. Turns out I can't find a single piece of information related to the sensitive, threatened, endangered species or the grasslands, the plants, even the wetlands that are involved here, the water table, all of it has been scrubbed from the ORES website. I started digging even deeper to find out that there are two different laws in New York State that the foreign corporation out of Canada, Boralex, otherwise known as Fort Edward Solar, whenever these foreign corporations come to town for these solar projects, they assign them a local name so that people aren't up in arms. So they renamed it Fort Edward Solar. There are two different laws that they are hiding behind that New York State passed that allow them to redact this information, because when the New York State Environmental Conservation Law that I'm going to put up on the screen here was passed, it was designed to protect endangered species from the public so that everyday civilians like you and I were not aware of where these species existed, where their habitat is, perhaps to dissuade people from hunting them. Whatever the idea was in the first place should never have been passed. It has now been hijacked by foreign corporations, and it's allowing them to hide behind this law to make sure that us everyday plebeians don't actually get to know any of the true environmental damage that is going to occur at these massive sites of thousands of acres going in across the street from our houses and our farms. It's obvious to me that this information has to be redacted, because I'm sure if we could read it, I'm sure it would not paint a pretty picture for what is going to happen to the species on this land. And I know this because I went to the Fort Edward Solar hearing where scientists after scientists, you guys know, from Cornell, from local grassland bird places everywhere, got up to take the stand to talk about how serious of an environmental impact that is going to happen here. They got up to talk about how critically important, ecologically important this specific site is, and they were begging even for more mitigation land. They were asking for anything they could possibly get out of ORES in this case, because they said the environmental impacts of taking out this type of grassland are going to be far-reaching, far beyond Washington County, far beyond Fort Edward, where the site is going in. If you and I could read that information that was scrubbed from those documents, from dozens of documents, I promise you it wouldn't just be me on here screaming about this. There would be environmental groups from not only around the country, I believe around the world, would be up in arms over what they are about to do here, over how many species are on the brink, true brink of extinction, when one of the last remaining places for them to breed, eat, and all of that is wiped off the face of the earth, wiped off of the United States of America. Again, there wouldn't be so many environmental protections and designations over this very habitat if it wasn't sensitive and ecologically important. We pay taxes to the DEC so they can come in and say to us, hey guys, this area is critically important. We're going to set up a wildlife management area, which they did adjacent to where this project is going. There is a DEC wildlife management area that is going to be closed in on, not one side, not two sides, all four sides. So we paid taxes for them to set up a wildlife management area they are going to effectively destroy. You don't need to be a scientist to understand what happens to a habitat if you surround all four sides of it with a solar farm that are always enclosed by barbed wire fencing, by the way, and lots of access roads, parking, all of the things you're used to seeing at industrial sites is what you see at a solar farm. A lot of the imagery we see are stock photos and AI imagery of made-up solar farms out in the desert. It does not actually reflect what it looks like in actuality when it's rolled out or when it's constructed, which I will also be filming here to show you guys. If this is allowed to go through, I will be documenting every single ugly, horrific piece of video that everybody is going to need to see of what this truly looks like, because they will not be able to tug on people's heartstrings anymore with their AI imagery. You and I don't get to know that information. And without that information, we can't point out what's wrong here on a detailed level. Outside scientists can't challenge the findings. Outside scientists can't draft their own reports going against what has come out in these environmental impact surveys. We are left completely in the dark, which makes us unable to act in this case. Real quick before I start the second half of this video, wrapping it up and presenting to you some solutions I think I have for what we can do here, I'm going to quickly talk to you about the benefits of solar when it is used in a personal manner at your personal homestead, which is why I rely on the Elite 30 V2. It is a portable power bank that can store power for you if the power goes out, which is something that is very common here in upstate New York. We actually lost power this week from a windstorm, and by the looks of it right now, we might have another windstorm on the way, especially because I'm surrounded by a lot of hay fields, so the wind can pick up a lot of momentum and your electric power can go out. That is why I own some of my own personal solar panels used in a personal way, not to push through some agenda on a larger scale. The Elite 30 V2 is small and portable, which I love. I can lift it with one arm. I am a small 5'3" female, so I don't always love things that are 100 pounds, but with this guy, I can bring it all around the farm with me to plug in the different things that absolutely do need to be plugged in and powered during a power outage, especially now that it is winter here with the different animals I have here. It's really important that I be able to provide power no matter the weather, no matter the situation, and the Blue Eddy Elite 30 V2 absolutely makes that possible for me. To charge the Blue Eddy Elite V2, you simply plug it into the wall, which I'm using here. There's an input right on the side of the portable power bank right here, and you just plug it in, throw it into the wall, and it charges super fast. It shows you the percent right on the screen there. So in the event your power's gone out and you need your Christmas tree to be repowered, in this case, I plugged it right into the power bank and it's able to power your Christmas tree. It's also able to charge multiple devices, which is essential for me, especially if I need to check on what the weather is doing in a power outage. I also grow a lot of the greens that I feed my rabbits all winter in a vertical grow tower. So if the power goes out, I really want to make sure that the light still stays on my plants there. And I also want to make sure that my animals are warm. So we have different coop heaters and heating systems set up in the bunny shed before we bring them in for the full winter. So in this case, I am able to plug their coop heaters directly into this portable power bank, and that way they stay warm and happy, which is how we like our bunnies to be. I can do the same thing for my chickens and just bring the power bank anywhere I need it to be with me in the event that the power has gone out. Although I love being plugged into the grid here at my homestead, it is very important to have a backup power bank plan for when the power goes out, and it is common in rural areas. So the Blue Eddy Elite V2 is absolutely that option for you, and don't forget to check out all of the different color options that it comes in. I have been following the case of Fort Edward Solar for almost 2 months now, and a lot of the times it can feel hopeless, especially when I uncover what I just shared with you guys. The scale of these redactions leave us unable to fight back in any substantial way, and they know that. They've purposely crushed the transparency here. It's unconstitutional. It's an affront on what it means to be American, what it means to be a democracy. I could go on how offensive it is, on how stupid they think you and I are, that we can't follow along with exactly what they're doing here. Our land, our animals, our birds, our endangered species are for sale from your state government right now in the name of green energy, and they think if they slap a couple good terms on it like green and clean, we'll eat it up, we'll think they mean well, and we'll go on our merry way. Well, unfortunately for them, that is not the case for me here in Saratoga County, New York. I can finally share on here, I've been working on something the last 2 months. It is officially official, and I will link to it in the caption of this video, but I have launched a nonprofit organization called the American Land Rescue Fund, Inc. I'm obviously the president of it. I have a website. You guys can check it out below. It is an official 501c3 IRS legally approved nonprofit whose mission is very simple: to raise money to fund attorneys, to fund the nastiest, most aggressive environmental energy attorneys we can afford to take on these state governments and governmental overreach and what has gone on here. From ORES to the DEC to these foreign corporations, everything that is being allowed to go on here, there is only one way I can see right now that we can arrive at a solution, and it is through attorneys, plus the press. I have been actually advised by the attorneys I've spoken with that 2 things can bring this to a screeching halt. 1, a good old lawsuit, and 2, press. I can verify that as true because at this point, between my mom and I, we have called Boralex, ORES, the Department of Public Service, I would say at least 20 times. Every single time the call goes to voicemail, nobody calls me back if I leave a voicemail, or if somebody picks up, they tell me they're going to transfer me, the call drops, or they tell me someone's going to call me back or email me back. 100% of the time, nobody gets back to me, because I'm just a civilian. But I discovered, I was on News Channel 6 last week. News Channel 6 called up Boralex, otherwise known as Fort Edward Solar, and to no one's surprise, they picked up to give a statement for the news. So, as you can imagine, these corporations and the state government answer to 2 things: attorneys and the press. Now, I'm on here making as much noise as I can from a press point of view. So if you guys resonate with what I'm sharing, please do share this. Spam phones, email politicians, make noise. I am just one person. I can't do it all by myself. So if you guys help make some noise with these videos, with my articles, I post about it on my Substack, on my Facebook. That's one course of action. But another course of action is enlisting the help of some bulldog attorneys to say enough is enough here. Now, there have been some attorneys in New York State that have taken on ORES before and their unilateral overreach of government. They have not been successful thus far, but that doesn't mean that there are not new angles here available to us. And I always say, where there's a will, there's a way, and everything seems impossible until one day it's not. And I'm looking for an attorney and a team of attorneys that has the same attitude that I have, that we're going to put an end to this. We're going to do something about this. There's going to be no pessimism here with me and these attorneys. And that is what I'm raising money for through the American Land Rescue Fund. I will say, just the first day of this nonprofit being launched on my social media, I'm definitely very encouraged by the amount of people who are behind this, who have donated. I can't thank you enough. I really do believe this is just the beginning. And I know, just as one person, I can't possibly stop all of these solar experiments across the country. But what I can do, hopefully, is fund a team of attorneys that can set legal precedent that other attorneys and governments around the country can use to block what is happening to our heritage, to our farmland, to our grasslands, to our protected and endangered species that make this country what it is. Not to mention, no one ever even talks about the beauty angle here. The eyesore that are these solar industrial complexes is an affront on the rural way of life, on the character, heritage, history of what we are doing out here in the country, of what the people in the country are doing that grow our food, that grow the very food that feeds your family and my family. For everyone who keeps writing into me to share what is happening in your town, I promise you I'm reading all the emails. Sometimes it's hard for me to stomach to see the scale of the environmental destruction that has been allowed to go on in the name of green energy, but I'm right there with you. The email attached to the nonprofit, I'm checking it every night, contact@americanlandrescuefund.com. Please feel free to shoot us an email. Yes, there is a board to the nonprofit. It is a completely legal nonprofit. You can check out the EIN and all that stuff. Time is of the essence here. With some of these credits sunsetting by July, they are going to try and get their shovel in the ground, as it's called. If they can get their shovel in the ground, they can receive their subsidies and their tax credits, which is all they want here. That's why many of these farms promise payments to the landowners that hand over their land and sell out. They pay them for 2 years and then abandon it. My town actually put a clause into our solar energies facility law about inactivity at solar farms and having to decommission them because it's just that common. So if something sounds too good to be true, especially in the name of solar and renting over your land to a foreign corporation, I promise you it is actually too good to be true. There's lots more to come. I am uncovering so much. It's hard for me to even organize on some days. I'm being careful about how I speak about it, being careful about my safety at this time, you know, all that stuff. But there's a lot more to be reported on here, and I really do feel it is my God-given purpose to be a megaphone about it. If that pisses you off, I'm sorry. It's just what I'm supposed to do at this time. We are living through the largest wealth transfer of our lifetimes. $24 trillion worth of farmland is changing hands now, and these sneaky solar corporations know it. I'd much rather you guys buy this land than these freaking corporations that are not from the United States of America. I also cover on here different unconventional ways to get your hands on this farmland, especially if you're strapped for cash. I will link to some of those resources below. So stick around for updates related to Fort Edward Solar, the destruction of the environment, and how you can get in on the largest wealth transfer of our lifetimes. Bye.